So we're gonna start working on some double stops, and all a double stop means is that we're playing two strings at the same time. So let's practice that on some open strings first. Your bow's gonna go about halfway between your G string angle and your D string angle, so that you're evenly on the G and D. And you want to hear both strings about the same. That can help to use really big bow, and sometimes playing a little bit closer to the fingerboard than you're used to, especially if you're getting some scratches. Here's D and A. Here's A and E. So just do that a few times, and it's a good way to make sure your violin's in tune too. So I'm going to look at page 26 in the book. We're going to play the double stop studies on top. And when you read double stops, you can see that the two notes are on the same line and they're vertically on top of each other. That means you're playing them at the same time. And for this first line, you'll notice that all of the bottom notes are open strings, and my fingers are only going to be going on the top of the two strings that I'm playing. So we could call that like a drone. Sometimes when you're playing an open string on the bottom, we call it a drone. So here's double stop studies line A, and I'll do it twice. 1, 2, 3. So incidentally, this is a really good way to practice getting your third finger in tune, because your third finger, if you play a double stop open string below it, that's an octave, and if they're in tune, they should sound really clean like this. But you might have noticed that even some of mine were slightly out of tune. They sounded a little bit more like this, with a little buzz, and if it's really out of tune, it sounds something like this. So make sure your third finger's in tune, it should sound really clean and pure, and you can slide it around until you get it really in tune. So I'm going to play line B now, and in the fourth measure, we have a couple notes where there's an F sharp on bottom and an A on top. So this time we're fingering the bottom string and leaving the top string open. So you just have to make sure that you have a finger tonal that's arched over your A string, leaving the A string free to vibrate. Or else it'll sound kind of like this. You want it to sound like this. So here's line B. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if reading the double stops is really throwing you off, I would try two things. First, I would try reading just the top line and figuring out what your top string is doing, and then reading the bottom line, figuring out what your bottom string is doing. And then I would just go through each individual double stop really slow. To learn to recognize, to read those notes two at a time.